So it seems Sam Bankman-Fried is back in the USA, and in fact, he's going to make bail. This is a $250 million bond. He'll be staying at his parents' house in Palo Alto, California. I haven't seen anything about whether he's pleading guilty or not guilty, so we'll keep a tracks on that. We do know that a couple of his associates, Gary Wong and Carolyn Ellison, have pleaded guilty. I actually looked at the charges, read through the plea agreements, and essentially she faces more time than Gary. She's got 110 years potential, and Gary Wong has 50 years potential, so we'll see where that goes. And they basically agreed to cooperate with the authorities, give all the information that they can, and answer any questions truthfully, these sort of things. And we'll see how this plays out. People have asked, will there be more people involved? I would say probably, but we'll see, because one of the things that I noticed is that there are different charges, there are like wire charges, money laundering, and stuff like that. But I didn't see either Gary or Caroline charged with anything with the political donation thing or defrauding the government. So those are other charges that may involve a different set of people. I made a video about the political donation thing. You guys should take a look at that if you can. I think you'll find it interesting. Now, whether or not the FTX thing is freaking out the markets were freaking out today. As you can see, pretty much everything was down. It's red across the board as of recording this, and it doesn't really even matter what sector. It was interesting because energy seems the one to be hit the most, but again, most things are down today. One of the things that has been going on is that the U.S. economy just doesn't seem to want to crash. The Fed keeps raising rates, need to slow everything down, need to try to kill inflation. But the economy keeps chugging along, and also too, this is not just the USA that is raising rates. We had a signal from Japan, the Bank of Japan that is, that they're going to be possibly raising. And also too in Europe, the European Central Bank, there's been sort of speculation that they're going to be raising rates. So if you're unfamiliar with this stuff, the basic gist of it is you're raising the cost to borrow money, which slows down everything. And but that's the goal, because when inflation is too high, be it in the U.S., we're like at a say 6%. PCE when the Fed is trying to get down to 2%, so triple to where we want it to be. And if you look at it in say Europe, where they're facing double-digit inflation, you got to slow things down, and also to quit the money printing, which we've been doing for a long time. After the 0809 crisis, we essentially had in the USA, lots of printing and zero cost borrowing. So something's got to give, and we've been in a bubble for a long time. Also, regarding some individual companies, it looks like Micron's going to be laying off some staff, about 10%. And I mentioned this, guys, before. December is the second highest month for layoffs, and unfortunately, January is the highest month of where companies lay off. We know Goldman Sachs has announced layoffs, and in fact, also too, Tesla, essentially you can see here, is going to be cutting jobs as well. So I think this is going to be something you're going to see a lot of companies doing. I've mentioned you guys several times before. I do expect unemployment to go up. It could go, maybe to 5%, could go 5.5, something of that nature. The Fed says 4.5, but for every percentage point that it ticks up, about 1 million Americans will lose their jobs. So we're currently sitting at 3.7% unemployment. And again, the Fed is saying it could go up to say like a 4.5, 4.6 kind of thing. Other projections I've seen could save 5% to 5.5. So I mentioned to you guys before, maybe 1 to 2 million Americans could be laid off next year. And that's just an estimate, so we don't know exactly what it's going to be. But I do expect layoffs to continue, and it's going to be tough out there. So I've been mentioning you guys, don't rely on the markets right now or anything like that. Rely on having good job skills and reaching out to your network and making sure that you have a place to land. Essentially, they're calling it career cushioning. Actually, is the phrase. More bad news for Tesla and the Elon Musk and Twitter. Essentially, this was saying, it was interesting. Basically, as you guys know, many advertisers have left Twitter. As it turns out of the top 100 advertisers on Twitter, 70% of them are not spending on the platform. And it's for all the reasons that you probably already know. They're concerned about, is the CEO stable? What's Elon Musk going to do today? They don't want their advertising to appear to next to content that they find objectionable and things of this nature. And it's just not a great platform. The other thing too that I think is worth mentioning is advertisers don't have to advertise on Twitter. They now have options to say YouTube or Google, or also to Netflix, right? Even Walmart has opportunities for that. So there are other places to advertise than just Twitter. And if Twitter chases away a bunch of users and only has certain kinds of users on there, it's just unattractive to advertisers. And I understand there's Elon Musk fanboys and fangirls, but guys, I don't make up stuff when we talk about this stuff. It's just, you need money to run a company. And if advertisers don't want to advertise on your platform, it's hard to run a company, right? He did a poll the other day and said, hey, should I step down as CEO? It was like something like, 57% ish said, hey, yes, step down. We want someone else. And it was interesting because there were a couple of reports also that were saying that maybe the poll had bots, meaning that, Elon Musk was just using it a way to save face and then, manipulate the votes or whatever, which is kind of an interesting discussion. I think that is a possibility. I don't have any proof, but I'm saying that it certainly is a possibility. And I saw some articles that could be a thing. So I wasn't the only one thinking about that. And also, too, with Tesla, they may be facing demand problems. They're offering more discounts. You can see this on the Model 3 and the Model Y, and essentially doubling the discount. So, I'd be curious what you guys think about this. My personal feeling on these things, when interest rates are going up and people are concerned about whether or not they have a job, I don't think they're going to go out and buy a Tesla. That's probably the last thing that people are thinking. They're thinking, oh my God, things cost too much money, time to save. And it wasn't that hard to see. And plus, you have more competition coming in for Tesla. So, I understand that there's lots of Tesla fanboys and fangirls, but you got to come to grips with reality sometimes that there are other car makers out there, and also too, interest rates are going up, and it might be tough to sell expensive cars in this sort of environment. There's going to be more news of this kind of stuff. It just seems like bad news keeps pouring out over and over. This is some sort of vehicle crash. It was in San Francisco, and someone was driving in full self-driving mode. So this will be tough to pass. And we'll keep track of these kind of things. Also, too, in the world, China. We've talked about this before. If you guys know, I used to teach at Tsinghua University. I lived in Shanghai, Beijing, and Shenzhen, and I feel very sorry for the Chinese people right now. The projections are coming out that the COVID wave could be, could kill 1 million people. Essentially, there's no other way to say it. It looks really bad, and essentially the government bumbled their COVID response. And at the time, Moderna was working with the Chinese government to try to get a deal to where Moderna could issue vaccines there, but essentially the Chinese government wanted to steal the secret formula from Moderna. It didn't, the deal ended up not going through, and then they ended up just using Chinese vaccines, and they just weren't as effective. And so, now you have the COVID virus spreading in China. Before it was like crazy lockdowns, but that wasn't really a great strategy, and now they're saying that the streets are empty. Just people are afraid to go outside, which I understand. It's if there's not really effective vaccines and you're worried about getting sick, I totally understand. And it's just a bad situation over there right now. So I feel very sorry for the Chinese people, and I hope something will resolve soon. They asked Secretary Blinken, U.S. Secretary of State, what's going on with China, and they're saying that they could possibly help. So that might be a thing. We'll see, and we'll keep tabs on that. Here, I say here, I'm in Korea, but you watching in the USA. Be wary of this triple-demic thing. You might have heard about this. So this is a combination of COVID, the flu, and RSV. Evidently, there was someone in the community that works in the healthcare system. So I do appreciate comments. I do read through these things, and was saying that that's no joke. So do take this stuff seriously, guys. And my response for this stuff is always the same. When it comes to getting sick, I believe that a natural human being, covers their mouth and says, "Don't come near me. Don't come near me. I'm sick." Or if someone else is sick and coughing, you should do the same thing. Cover your mouth and say, "Don't come near me. Don't come near me. I'm sick. You're sick. Let's, not spread colds, flus, and viruses." So, that's it. Wash your hands, get some sleep, take care of yourself. That's that sort of thing. This is interesting as well. This is going to get buried. You probably won't hear much about this. But it is in the news. I'm just saying you probably won't hear much about it because there's so much other crazy news going on. But it looks like over at ByteDance, they might have been accessing U.S. Data. And this comes on the heels of, you've heard both in the House and the Senate have been talking about banning TikTok. And it was over issues essentially of privacy concerns. So if this indeed is a real thing that, they actually are, accessing U.S. data, there may be a real ban on this thing. They were trying to complain, or not complain, I'm complaining, but they were trying to say that TikTok is that the U.S. data is separate and Beijing has no access to it and stuff like that. I myself never really believed it, and it turns out that I might have been correct on that. But one of the things that if you're not in the TikTok and you're not around dancing outside, is just stay home and stay warm. Evidently, people who are not staying home and staying warm or trying to go somewhere, flights are canceled and you're kind of stuck at the airport right now, or looking at your TV like what to do. Myself personally, I've never gotten trapped at the airport during Christmas. I'd be curious if anyone's had this experience. I think it would be awful, but evidently they're canceling like 1,700 flights. They just have a winter weather warning is all over the place in the USA. And then I can tell you guys, so I'm in Korea, we're in Busan. It's been really cold yesterday, and today is supposed to be like even colder. My wife says we're not going anywhere today, so we stocked up on food yesterday. So that's the sort of thing. And even the President Biden was like, telling people leave now, and it was interesting. So basically, he's saying, just go home and you can call me on the phone, to his staff members because there's nothing worth your life. And this is something that I've learned, as I've gotten older, and I hope you guys know as well. Just sometimes going to the office, going to work, going to the, that kind of thing is just not worth it if the snow is that bad. You can't drive anywhere, you can't go anywhere. Just stay home. And hopefully you guys are safe in these kind of things. And in fact, the UK is on board with being safe. They're telling their people, this is a true story, this is the headlines here, don't get drunk. That's a headline. Don't get drunk. UK government urges caution amid ambulance strike. So basically, there's a general strike going on in the UK. It's like ambulance. I know the nurses, I believe, are on strike. It's like the postal service, all kinds of industries. I know we've talked about like the trains as well in the UK. It is like I said, a general strike, and the government is saying basically, don't get drunk, don't get hurt, don't do anything stupid, because there's no one to be able to help you. And it's interesting because when we talk about, say, the UK strikes, this is something that could happen around the world, to where essentially everything costs so much money, be it your energy, be it your food, etc. Just for example, we went to the grocery store yesterday. We bought some lettuce, and it just seems like lettuce is like really expensive still. Like, we're looking around the store like, oh my god, why is lettuce so much money? I know I'm talking about lettuce, but I'm sure you guys know, if you've been to the grocery store recently, it's like things are so expensive. So it's tough. And in order to control inflation, you got to keep interest rates raised. You got to keep them raised for a certain amount of time, and that's why you're seeing sort of this market pain, and also too why you're seeing workers complain about the pay they receive. So when the workers get paid more, it costs companies more, and they pass the costs on to you, and it just creates an endless feedback loop. So it's tough out there. And overall, at the end of the day, my best advice is have job skills that enable you to get paid more to survive in this economy. So hopefully everything's going great with you. This has been the Daily News. Love to hear your thoughts on these things, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.